for Media Watch. We're starting with Mali, where the two candidates in the second round of the presidential election there exchanged warm comments on Twitter.
That's right. It was last night, Mark, that Soumaïla Cissé conceded defeat via social media. I think it was one of the first places he actually expressed his defeat. My family and myself, said that tweet, have been to see Mr. Keita, who is the president-elect now in Mali, the future president of Mali, to congratulate him for his victory. May God bless him. Now, the following morning, this morning, Mr. Ibrahim Keita, also replied via social media, a few photos of the visit from my young brother, he called him, in reference to Mr. Cissé. Vive la démocratie, vive democracy, and photos of the two meeting together. And of course, all of this was in an attempt to portray Mali positively, both within Mali, but also in the eyes of the world, vis-a-vis, respecting electoral processes, etc. Indeed, the headlines reflect that very much so. That's on the RFI website. Soumaïla Cissé, a dignified loser. This is on Mali's news website, maliweb.net. Soumaïla Cissé transforms his defeat into a semi-victory, says that headline. And further on, in Bamako.com, another news website, a wonderful example, says that headline, of Malian democracy in action. Now, the thing is, Mark, if you go back just 24 or 48 hours, the headlines were a lot less friendly, or the comments between the camps were a lot less friendly. You had Cissé's followers shouting fraud. IBK, that's as Mr. Keita is often known, his followers saying, oh, they're bad losers. So there was a radical change in tone, and some speculating, was a deal done? Was Cissé looked after in some sort of way with the promise of a job? All of that purely speculative, but a lot of people were asking those questions. This blogger in Mali, Askia Mohamed, says, you know what, these are just naysayers. People are trying to say that, there's going to be some sort of post-election chaos, presuming that was the case. Anyone who knows the situation in Mali would know that that's not true. I suppose you could speculate on that, right?
Looking at it as we do from the outside,
yes.
I mean, normally Africa plus election equals bloodbath.
That's right.
I know that's a generalisation, but we've got catalogues of reports to show that. It's refreshing this has ended so amicably.
Well, that's exactly what Askia Mohamed is saying. He's saying that you can't do that. This model of how things follow on from elections shouldn't necessarily be applied to Mali. So a certain degree of, I think, pride, Mark, in terms of how things have been conducted and the dignity of the electoral process at the end. Afterwards, what does that mean for how things will going forward? I don't know, but certainly that's the impression that both sides are trying to give.
Tuaregs didn't tweet, Al-Qaeda didn't tweet, so we'll wait and see what
happens
next time.
On that point, right, Soumaïla Cissé only has about 2,000 followers on social media, so it's coming up to 3,000 now. It's not a very widely used tool of communication, I think it's fair to say, in Mali, but it was used by these politicians, perhaps also as a means of getting their messages out to journalistic circles in France. France 24, of course, very much watched in Mali, so getting the message out to the broader community of journalists who will then transmit it back to Mali via radio, via television. So even if they're not followed directly, it's a way of getting the message out there.
Okay, next, France, where the Prime Minister's office made an embarrassing error on social media.
You could say that. A little bit less elegant than Mali's politicians in the story we've just been looking at. Prime Minister's Al-Qaeda tweet links to sexy lingerie site. Mark, that wasn't intended. Now, this is the legal and administrative affairs section of the Prime Minister's office, so we're getting kind of technical already. Now, the link, it was somehow related to Al-Qaeda and terrorism and counter-terrorism funding, if I'm not mistaken. That was what the link they wanted to send, legifrance.gov.fr, very technical, very legalistic, but actually the link was to this. It's very embarrassing. No, you could say it could have been worse, but it could also have been better.
Well, it is France after all, isn't it? France having that kind of reputation.
Right. So, rather a case of egg on face, and there had to be a lot of retractions of the tweet and reposting of the tweet with the correct, and you see they put the tweet up again with correcting the link to the right actual page, but not before you had headlines like that, PM's Al-Qaeda tweet, which is not really reflective of the reality, but anyway. It wasn't Mr. Aero tweeted that.
Okay, James, I'm afraid we need to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. James Creedon with Media Watch.
Thanks, Mark.
Stay with us. We've got all the world news to come, of course, throughout the night here on Live from Paris.